And East Turkestan, or the autonomous region, is directly controlled by the central government. It doesn't run itself like other Chinese provinces. So you can see other Chinese provincial leaders in their Shandong, Henan, or Guangdong. No, they have a lot of power as provincial leaders. But the chairman of the autonomous regions, they do not have any kind of power, whether it's in East Turkestan or Tibet or Inner Mongolia. And I talked about that already, And in the case of East Turkestan, I think probably the same in Tibet and other areas. Although the name autonomy is given to the Uyghurs, but we have other groups that live with us. We are the majority population. Uyghurs are still the majority, although the incoming Chinese population are becoming nearly half. Compared to other groups, Uyghurs have always been the majority. But the area has been divided into other prefectures like Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Mongol, Hui, and others. So the Uyghurs were not given any kind of rights except the title of autonomy. And also, unique to East Turkestan is the creation of the Xinjiang Construction and Production Corps, Xinjiang 生产建设兵团. That does not exist in any part of China. What the Chinese government did is, the occupying PLA forces led by Wang Zhen, they were all decommissioned and stationed in East Turkestan. They were not allowed to come back to the rest of China, wherever they came from. Their job is, although they are no longer standing army forces, but they have all the conventional weapons. They don't have airplane and tanks, but they have all the other weapons. Their job is to control the fertile territories, like we talked about grasslands earlier. Grasslands and the farming territories, lands, and water resources, and all agriculture pretty much is controlled by Bingtuan forces. And in times of any kind of unrest by the Uyghurs against the Chinese government, they are used as auxiliary supporting force to the Chinese standing armies to crush any kind of Uyghur resistance. So they have a lot of blood in their hands. Then, since 1955, any Uyghur who wants even the Chinese government to honor the autonomy given already to the Uyghur people is labeled as a counter-revolutionary, like my father, and many others as separatists and even terrorists. Execution after execution. Basically, as the Chinese saying, to kill the monkey to scare to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. 杀鸡给猴看. That's the way the Chinese government has been able to rule East Turkestan, along with other neighboring countries. And it's our estimate that since 1949, the Chinese communists have killed nearly 1 million Uyghurs. It's probably the same in Tibet and other areas, but of course the Chinese communists have killed more Chinese people than rest of us combined. Mao killed up to 85 million people. But what's unique to the Uyghurs is, the Chinese government almost exclusively executes Uyghurs for political and religious reasons. The Chinese government has, in the past, executed Tibetans for political offenses as well, but very randomly. Because of international awareness, China is more careful with Tibet than with us. And also because Uyghurs are Muslim, and after 9/11, it's very easy for the Chinese government to basically label Uyghurs as terrorists and mute international criticism, then execute just any Uyghur who is not happy with Chinese rule as a terrorist, separatist, or extremist. And China labeled this category as terrorist, and of course, sometimes the Chinese government claims His Holiness the Dalai Lama as a terrorist as well. So you see, the Chinese government's claims of terrorism is really not based on facts, but based upon political motivations. And the torture methods, I don't need to go further into that. I think that applies not only to the Uyghurs, Tibetans, and even to the Han Chinese. And we know, even the Falun Gong, we have a lot of documented evidence that the Chinese government used organ harvesting against even the Han Chinese populations. And when we talk about religious persecution, religion is the essence of who we are. It's the same for us. For the Tibetans, probably even more, because they see His Holiness Dalai Lama as their deity. In our case, of course, we don't see Miss Galia as our living God. We believe in God, but she's not our religious leader. But Islam is so much part of our culture, our identity. And that became the most severe target from the Chinese government, because the Chinese government believes if you destroy their religious belief, then they will lose their values, then they will be easily assimilated into Chinese culture, then they will lose everything, their identity, their culture, their religion, then they will be us, they will be Chinese, then there will not be East Turkestan issue, Tibetan issue, or Inner Mongolian issue, they will be just Chinese, and we'll be one happy Chinese family, 幸福大家庭, as they say, although nobody is really happy under CCP rule. And you can see how they control all the Uyghur clergy, imams, all that. And the CCTV cameras are all in the mosques. And who comes in, who comes up, it's all registered. If you work for the government, you cannot enter the mosque, you cannot pray. If I even educate my children about Islam in my own home, that's considered illegal religious activity for the Uyghurs. But the Chinese propaganda is always, oh, we treat them so well, they have preferential treatments, oh, they go to college so easily, and they can have more than one child and all that. So in the minds of general Chinese people, it's like, wow, our government treats them so well, give them free money, these barbarians, these uncivilized people, develop them, help them, and why aren't they still grateful? Why are they still want separate from us? Why do they still protest against us? But those are, of course, not true. Those are pretty much all lies. And East Turkestan, like Tibet and Inner Mongolia, very strategic territory. East Turkestan is a gateway for the Chinese, for China to go to Central Asia, Eurasia, South Asia, Western Asia, Middle East, and everywhere. East Turkestan is so strategic in location. In addition to that, East Turkestan possesses huge reserves of natural resources. Oil, natural gas, uranium, gold, and just read the Xinhua reports every month. You'll find they find tons of oil here, tons of coal there, gold there, everything under the sun you can find in East Turkestan. In Tibet, in Inner Mongolia, you can find the same thing. It's probably in different amounts. But surprisingly, the people live on those areas like the Uyghurs, Tibet, they're the poorest on earth. They're the poorest. You would think, why? Out of this rich territory, how did the people live so poor? At the same time, the Chinese government claims they're helping these poor people. Why are they poor? Because all the resources are robbed by the Chinese government, stripped the Uyghurs, Tibetans, Mongols, and others naked, and even did not provide any kind of economic opportunities. All the economic opportunities are really reserved for the Chinese immigrants who come in millions to East Turkestan, Tibet, and other areas. They enjoy the political privilege, the economic privilege, and the health care, and all the benefits. That's why they move in. And that's about the natural resources. Without East Turkestan and the natural resources in East Turkestan, Tibet, and Inner Mongolia, I think the rise of China economically is really a pipe dream. That's why Chinese government has been extremely brutal with all of the groups, because they know if they lose the territories, they lose all the resources. But in fact, the more they repress, the more they kill and abuse us, actually, the more the chances that China will eventually lose its territories, actually. And I'd like to talk about, unique to East Turkestan, also the nuclear testing. Since 1964 until 1996, China tested some 46 nuclear devices. Most of them are 100 times more powerful than the ones dropped by the US in Japan. And they polluted the desert, the atmosphere, basically the area, East Turkestan, and also because of the nuclear radiation, leukemia, 血, other kinds of cancers are spread. China also tests nuclear weapon actually for Pakistan as well, enable Pakistan to have nuclear weapons. And also China most likely has biological and chemical weapons in East Turkestan because it's a dry, arid area. A lot of diseases alien to these territories appear after China tests nuclear weapons, biological and chemical weapons. 9/11, of course, China used its best advantage, labeling all Uyghurs terrorism, then ETIM, East Turkestan Islamic Movement, calling this Qadir terrorists, calling World Uyghur Congress terrorists, calling everybody terrorists. And you see Ms. Qadir this morning, does she look like a terrorist? No, she's just an old lady, nice old lady. And you will see, I think, His Holiness Dalai Lama will come in 2 days, I think. You will see him. China calls him a terrorist, though. He's not a terrorist. But I believe the real terrorist is really the Chinese Communist Party, terrorizing Uyghurs, Tibetans, Mongols, and Han Chinese, and anybody who is not happy with the Chinese government rule. And July 5th, I just like to flip through some of the images. Of course, the Chinese government has a habit of blaming all the people who are against. In 1989, on June 4, the Chinese tank swallowing Beijing Tiananmen and killed the Chinese students, the best and brightest of the Chinese students, then blamed the Chinese students for that. And on July 5th, they did the same thing, blamed the Uyghurs, and incite ethnic hatred so that the Chinese people will stand with the Chinese Communist Party as well in this. And this is the initial picture of the protest. These are, Chinese soldiers, Chinese, armored vehicles, cracking down on Uyghur women. You could see that inciting Han Chinese to come out streets and attack the Uyghurs. Then the Chinese government has the Xinjiang Forum, led by Hu Jintao. They denied all the problems, say their policies are great. No, they only need to develop the region, which really means colonize the region even more. Send more Chinese people, more Chinese company develop, marginalize the Uyghurs, then the problem will go away, then the Uyghur problem will simply disappear. That is their strategy after the Xinjiang Forum meeting led by Hu Jintao. Not a single Uyghur attended that meeting, by the way. That's how much the Chinese government respects and loves the Uyghurs. And Uyghurs, of course, like our Tibetan, Mongol brothers, sisters, not even Han Chinese were suffering under Chinese need help from the U.S. government, from the U.S. Congress, from the international community. But from us, for the Uyghurs, I think it goes, the same goes for the Tibetans and the Mongols and other, I think, for the Han Chinese, your language is not under attack. Your culture is not under attack. You can still speak your language, preserve your culture, but in our cases, our identity, our religion, our culture, our language, our values, everything under attack simply because Chinese government wants to assimilate us, make us disappear, make us Chinese, make us forget our language, forget our culture, forget our religion. So we'll think, speak, act like Han Chinese. Then we will disappear for good. Then the Chinese Communist Party, maybe the successive Chinese government will control Tibet, Southern Mongolia, East Turkestan forever good. Then the problems will disappear, then we'll disappear. So that's the plan. But that's why we need the sympathy and understanding of the Chinese brothers and sisters, because it's hard for them to sometimes understand our problems. Our attack we face is multidimensional, it's all. Just squeeze us, at the end of the day, then we disappear. And what China is doing is really not like what the Nazis and the Japanese did during the Second World War, like front genocide, but rather this is a different form of genocide by destroying the living conditions, by destroying your own culture, your language, your very existence, then at the end of the day you disappear as a unique indigenous people. So this is sort of the Uyghur point of view. Thank you very much. Please feel free to ask questions.